Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching India Today Global. Now, it's one of the most important moments in the history of Bangladesh, India's eastern neighbor with whom India shares the longest border. Bangladesh voted today since the ouster of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, whose government was toppled by a Gen Z movement. Polling in Bangladesh took place in 299 constituencies. This is the first national election since the 2024 July revolution. This election also ends the 18-month of interim governance led by Muhammad Yunus. The two major parties which contested is Bangladesh Nationalist Party, that's the BNP, and 11-party alliance led by the Jamaat-e-Islami and the youth-centric National Citizen Party. Tarique Rahman of the BNP and Sheikh Rahman of the Jamaat-e-Islami. However, the Bangladesh Election Commission cancelled voting in one of the constituencies after the death of the candidate. A total of 50 political parties contested in the polls with 1,755 candidates and 273 independents. Sheikh Hasina's party, the Awami League, was banned from contesting elections. Yunus had termed the day the birthday of New Bangladesh, urging citizens to vote freely and peacefully. Meanwhile, voting for the national referendum was also held to decide if the July charter will be adopted or not. For decades, elections in Bangladesh was about two begums and their strong political families, Khalida Zia and Sheikh Hasina. But this election sees Awami League banned and Jamaat returning after being banned for years. An incident of cocktail bomb explosions were reported near a polling station in Munshiganj district. According to local officials, several cocktail bombs did explode on the roadside outside the polling station, spreading fear among voters and residents in the surrounding areas in Munshigan Sadar. The presiding officer confirmed the explosion, stating that law enforcement personnel rushed to the scene immediately after being informed. And news just coming in, this is again to do with Bangladesh polls. Tarique Rahman, son of Khalida Zia of the BNP, he heads the BNP now, is leading in polls. That's news coming in. These are early trends, but it's important. Results are likely to be out by tomorrow afternoon. Sources in the Bangladesh government say that the new government is likely to take oath by 17th of February. The ex-Prime Minister Khalida Zia and late Prime Minister Khalida Zia's son is the front runner when it comes to the next Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Tarique Rahman looks set to become the next Prime Minister. Indrajit Kundu, my colleague who is in Dhaka following all the developments and has covered the election far and wide, joins me for more on this. Indro, it seems like Tarique Rahman is set to be the next Prime Minister of Bangladesh, although, like you had said yesterday, that the voting and the elections is bipolar between BNP and Jamaat.
Well, that's right. It was a bipolar contest and a fierce contest nonetheless. But as early trends emerge right now and all through the night, the counting process will continue. Most in Bangladesh media are now reporting that the BNP is already leading. Now, these are unofficial numbers. The Election Commission hasn't come up with the official numbers because it will take some time. It's a tedious process. The elections have taken place on ballots. There are 42,000, mind you, election centers, polling booths. All these numbers will have to be tallied. So one can expect a final result by tomorrow morning, later half of the morning. But the initial trends now suggest that the BNP is well on course and might form the government, the new government in Bangladesh.
Right. Indra, stay on with us. Earlier, you had spoken to Mehdi Amin, advisor to BNP chief Tarique Rahman, who's likely to be the next Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
We've met a lot of people in Dhaka who say that the mood is cheerful, celebratory. How do you see these polls, panning out?
See, people are voting after 18 years. So, of course, there is massive enthusiasm. It's a festivity. People believe that for the first time in many years, they'll be able to express themselves, choose their own representatives. BNP being the largest party, most popular political party, we believe if it's a free, fair and credible elections, we are on course to win. Unfortunately, last night we saw some sporadic incidents where our opposition party tried to capture different polling centers. We saw how they tried to provoke violation. They tried to provoke violence. There were activities which violate the electoral integrity and rules. But we put our trust on the interim government, on the election commission and the law enforcement agencies. And we believe if we all work together, pro-democracy stakeholders ensure peace and coexistence.
If the elections are free and fair, so you're saying there's still some amount of anxiety within the VNP that there might be, some illegitimate acts during the poll process?
Last night, right, there were clear evidence of some activities that took place that hampers the electoral integrity. But
similar allegations have come against your party as well. Some.
There are allegations, but the evidence, the proof goes against them. That's the ground reality. But having said it all, since this morning we have seen volumes of people in every center coming out with passion, with enthusiasm. So it's a celebration. And we believe if this festivity continues and if we all work together to ensure that credible elections, people's voice will be heard through ballot, and then BNP will come as winner.
And of course, it's a given. An interesting factor, and perhaps very crucial as well, is that you said that BNP is the largest political party in Bangladesh right now, which is in operation. Your rivals, the Awami League, has now been banned. So they are not participating in this election. They are not being allowed. So will that be a question mark on the legitimacy of these elections?
Not really. The people of Bangladesh have rejected Awami League because of the human rights violations, the corruption, the enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, custodial deaths, all the activities they've done. So now it's among the pro-democracy political parties, and the BNP remains the most formidable force with tremendous support all across the country. We are very confident with the public mandate we're going to form the next government. Thank you.
Against you, one last question. Against you, of course, is the Jamaat. The Jamaat itself was banned a few years back. The ban has been lifted. We spoke to the Jamaat Amir. There are certain issues that the Jamaat speaks of which seems problematic, especially women's rights, LGBTQ rights, as far as Sharia laws are concerned. Does these things bother the BNP as well in the political spectrum?
Well, it bothers the entire country. BNP remains a political party which has led women's empowerment. We believe women should be empowered, integrated, and have the same opportunities as men to build the country together. As opposed to that, the party that you're referring to, they've come up with abusive comments, curtailing working hours for the women, suppressing them. That doesn't go with the aspiration of the country. So this election is also to make a choice of which course Bangladesh is going to go, a liberal, inclusive nation, thriving with gender equality, or more radicalization in terms of how women will be treated. So BNP has been the party which has always promoted women's rights. Sheikh Hasina, Rahman, Prime Minister Khalida Zia, they all advocated for women's empowerment. And that hallmark is taken forward by Mr. Tarique Rahman as well. And you have heard about Family Card, BNP scheme for women's empowerment in every family. We have come up with various policies which will integrate women more in the mainstream of the society, of business, of politics. So we take pride in that as part of our policies, as part of our programs, and we believe people will vote for us. Women will come in big numbers to vote for us because they believe in us. They put their trust on BNP.
So, I mean, in your manifesto, you've also spoken about mutual trust and respect with other nations, specifically in the neighborhood. In that context, the most obvious question is the biggest neighbor, India, and Bangladesh and India share an extremely deep and friendly ties. But over the past 2 years, we've seen massive amounts of strain in that relationship. If the BNP at all comes to power, how do you plan to rebuild that relationship?
Of course, we want a relation that's thriving, based on equality, fairness, and justice. A pragmatic and sustainable relations where both the nations are benefited, the interest and sovereignty of both the nations are protected. It's only in the interest of both the nations to forge people-to-people ties, to enhance connectivity, for bilateral relations, for multilateral relations. So every attempt should be made to enhance the ties, but while ensuring that the relation is reciprocal and the relation serves the purpose of both the nations.
So when you say reciprocal, one last point, then will the presence of the former Prime Minister, who is convicted now, Sheikh Hasina, in Delhi, will that have an impact on the bilateral relationships between India and Bangladesh?
Of course, once we form the government, we'll talk on that on bilateral level based on the aspirations of the people of Bangladesh, what the people of Bangladesh want. BNP being a pro-people party, will try to reflect the aspiration and sentiment of the people while we handle every issue, including this one.
Confident you're forming the government?
As long as the election.
Indra, very briefly coming to you, contrary to reports and as anticipated, voter turnout was actually quite all right and there was no violence, or very little.
Well, that's right. Sporadic violence. We still have the entire night, to bear when the counting process takes place. But as far as the voter turnout numbers are concerned, the exact figure is yet not out. But till about 2 p.m. this afternoon, the voting percentage was 48%, so almost 50%. So one could expect this to cross 50%, maybe 55 to 60%, unofficial numbers coming in. But we'll have to wait for the Election Commission to come out with the exact data.
All right, keep tracking developments in Dhaka. We'll join you early tomorrow morning to get a sense of where Bangladesh is headed. Thank you so much, Indrajit. Now, India Today Global is where the news is. From Bangladesh to Iran, India Today had yesterday brought you ground report from Tehran on how the country marked its 47th anniversary. Now, it's the people turned out in large numbers, showing solidarity as the country reels under war threat and sanctions. Today, the network's reporter Sumit Chaudhary brings to you a report from inside Iran's biggest research and technology center, which is popularly called the Silicon Valley of Iran.
Iran has been facing these sanctions from very long period, not only on the defense sector but also on the civil things. So right now I'm in one of the most important research center of Iran. This is International Research Center, which is not only providing the technologies and for the defense, but also to the civil populations. Right now I am going to take you inside. It's one of the most and largest research center or the technology center of Iran. When there is a whole scenario of warlike situation in Iran and between the US, that particular time, what is the condition in Iran, how normal life people have been living. So we are bringing all these pictures to you. First, I just want to show you what exactly this is. This is Pardis, Iran Silicon Valley, biggest technology hub of Iran, and India Today Group is one of the first channel of which is bringing all these pictures to you. Let me show you what kind of center this is. This is one of the most prominent centers, technology hubs of Iran. And why we are here? We are here just to show you what exactly, because when the sanctions have been put on you for a very long period, how will you survive? So that is the biggest challenge with the Iranian government, and that's why the Iranian government have been working continuously on the research part of this on a very prominent way. So today we are going to bring all these pictures to you, which gives you an idea how Iran have been surviving with all these sanctions from very long period.
You can watch a detailed report on the developments in Iran on India Today Global. But for now, let's take a look at some other stories from across the world and World at a Glance.
Kremlin said US messenger app WhatsApp, owned by Meta Platforms, Meta.o, has been completely blocked in Russia for failing to comply with local laws. The move suggesting Russians turn to a state-backed national messenger, Max Instant. Critics say Max is a surveillance tool. Russian authorities deny this. The move against WhatsApp, Russia's most popular messenger, is the culmination of 6 months of pressure on the US company. The top executive at Meta Platforms, Instagram, defended the social media platform's choices around features that some company insiders called harmful for young users. Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, is testifying in Los Angeles as part of a trial on what plaintiffs call social media addiction in children and young adults. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is also expected to testify in the coming weeks. European allies at NATO brushed aside concerns that the US has stepped back from its leadership role of the world's biggest security organization, leaving them and Canada to do the lion's share of defending Europe. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth did not attend the gathering of defense ministers at NATO headquarters in Brussels. His no-show came after Secretary of State Marco Rubio skipped the last meeting of NATO foreign ministers in December. James Van Der Beek, a heartthrob who starred in coming-of-age dramas at the dawn of the new millennium, shooting to fame, playing the titular character in Dawson's Creek, and in later years, mocking his own hunky persona, has died. He was 48. Van Der Beek revealed in 2024 that he was being treated for colorectal cancer.
Now, if Epstein files are shaking governments, forcing resignations, stripping royalties of their titles, then the fiery showdown between U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi and lawmakers leave us guessing if Socrates was right about democracy, wherein he criticized democracy as a system that prioritizes popularity over competence. Attorney General Pam Bondi appeared before the House Judiciary Committee and faced questions about the Department of Justice's handling of the Epstein files. Watch the face-off.
You asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
and we invited you in.
This
guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get. You're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
you need to
I
get
want
on
you to watch
these
the video.
matters.
Mr. Chairman, please, Attorney General of the United States, we have rules here.
You're obsessed with him.
You're the Attorney General of the United States.
You're
And the rules.
obsessed with Donald Trump. You
No.
have Trump derangement syndrome.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like my time
Mulligan will be
restored. I'd like my
sentenced
time
next week
restored.
in your district. In your district, and
Stop
you
the
don't
clock.
even know about it, about keeping children
belongs
safe
to
from
the
online
gentleman.
predators.
Can you tell us who sent her there, since you don't agree she should be there?
You know, instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska,
I have a couple
who
of
died
other
on a
questions.
subway.
Right, and I absolutely...
You don't talk about that.
I have been talking about it and actually helping with these issues. But we're going to move back to you.
I bet we are.
Yes, of course, because you're here to testify. That's what the whole point of this endeavor is. So, of course, we're moving back to you. It is all about you.
It is shocking that the department did not redact the names of Epstein's victims, but it did redact the names of their abusers. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
You showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer
theatrics
the
are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch.
Reclaiming?
Not on our time. No way.
Reclaiming?
And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous.
This isn't a game. These are real people. You are not interested in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
What does
across
ties
the
mean?
world,
Can you define that?
across the world,
Can you
prominent
define
men
ties?
who've been exposed in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace, and that's a good first start. And that same
Disgrace is
standard,
not saying the word
this
Chris
same
Malin.
standard should apply here. And Americans want accountability.
Who is Chris Malin?
Was the president
he?
aware? Please stop talking. It is not your time to ask
was
questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair.
One second.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Vermont.
Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce? Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
You're
this
from
is
a tiny,
pathetic.
beautiful
This is
state.
pathetic, Mr.
Committee will be in order.
I am not asking trick questions here.
Well, it seems like the Epstein files is an inconvenient space for the Trump administration, and this will continue for some days to come. But it's time for me to close the show. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye and take care.